A few months ago, I had the chance to meet someone at an event. It took a while, but we eventually agreed to meet up, and when we did, it was a really nice experience. As luck would have it, they were planning to move to my town and would be working in the same office as me. After our first meeting, I wanted to know how things were going for them, but their response was a bit vague. So, I decided to be upfront and asked if they wanted to keep things friendly. They agreed, saying they liked me and suggested we continue meeting and see where things would go from there. Since then, we've met a few times. They have this way of being very flirty, which is nice, but sometimes they've cancelled our plans at the last minute. It's been a bit confusing because they seem hot and cold at times. When I don't message them, they start texting me a lot, but when I do, they don't always respond as eagerly. They've even made comments about our future together, like saying things such as if we get married and I hope I'm in your life when we're older. However, they've also mentioned that they're in a talking stage with someone else, which they insist isn't a serious thing. Oddly enough, when I mentioned talking to someone recently, they seemed a bit jealous and asked a bunch of questions. Just last week, we went out to the movies, and it felt a lot like a date. They were being incredibly flirty, and it left me wondering where we stood because it sometimes felt like we were in a relationship. So, I decided to be honest with them and told them that I wanted to try again, like we did before. However, they wanted clarification on what I meant, so I explained myself. It's been a week, and I haven't heard back from them. I'm feeling pretty down about it, but at the same time, I couldn't keep dealing with all the back and forth. My friends have been telling me that they might be playing games with me. Now, I'm left with the dilemma of having to see them every day at work. I'm not sure if it's worth sending another message or how to handle this situation. As the days passed without a response from the person I had been seeing, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The uncertainty and silence weighed heavily on my mind, and I couldn't help but replay our interactions and conversations, searching for clues and understanding. It was a peculiar situation. We had started off on good terms, enjoying our time together and the budding connection between us. However, as time went on, the relationship had become increasingly complicated. The person I had met was charming and affectionate, showering me with flattery and hints of a potential future together. Yet, there were moments of doubt and confusion that cast a shadow over our budding romance. One of the recurring patterns that left me perplexed was their tendency to be hot and cold. When I refrained from reaching out, they would initiate contact enthusiastically, making me feel like a priority. However, when I took the initiative to message them, their responses often lacked the same eagerness. It was as if they were carefully measuring their level of engagement, leaving me feeling uncertain about where I stood. Adding to the complexity were the ambiguous statements they made about our future. Mentioning marriage and envisioning a life together were not things to be taken lightly, and these declarations had raised my hopes and expectations. However, they had also shared that they were in a talking stage with someone else, leading to feelings of jealousy and insecurity on my part. Given these mixed signals and the roller coaster of emotions I was experiencing, I had reached a point where I needed clarity and closure. It was essential to understand whether our relationship held the potential for a deeper connection or if it was time to move on. So, I gathered the courage to express my feelings and intentions honestly. In our last conversation, following a movie date that felt remarkably like a romantic outing, I had shared my desire to rekindle what we had started, hoping to bring clarity to our relationship. However, rather than a straightforward response, they sought clarification regarding my intentions. This left me in a state of limbo, unable to move forward or backward in our connection. A week had passed, and the lack of communication weighed heavily on my heart. I felt a mixture of emotions, sadness, frustration, and a growing sense of self-doubt. The advice of my friends echoed in my mind. They believed that I might be caught up in a game of emotional tug-of-war, where my romantic interest was toying with my feelings. Their counsel was straightforward: it was time to move on and protect my emotional well-being. Yet, despite the turmoil, a part of me clung to the initial magic of our connection. The affection and charm I had experienced in our time together remained etched in my memory, making it difficult to sever ties completely. Additionally, the prospect of seeing this person every day at work loomed as an additional challenge. The decision before me was a daunting one. Should I send another message in pursuit of clarity and closure, risking potential rejection and further emotional turmoil? Or should I heed the advice of my friends and attempt to move forward, knowing that the path ahead might be difficult but necessary for my emotional well-being? As I grappled with these choices, I also contemplated the nature of relationships and the complexity of human emotions. Love, attraction, and connection could be both beautiful and bewildering, capable of bringing joy and heartache in equal measure. Ultimately, I knew that the decision I made would not only impact my present but also shape my future, setting the course for the journey ahead. The passing days felt like a relentless countdown, each tick of the clock a reminder of the unanswered message I had sent. I couldn't escape the feeling of uncertainty that had taken root in my heart. It was as if a heavy cloud of doubt hung over my every thought and action, casting a shadow on the other aspects of my life. As I replayed our interactions in my mind, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a mistake in expressing my desire for clarity. Had I pushed too hard, too soon? I had believed that honesty and open communication were the cornerstones of any healthy relationship, but I was now confronted with the harsh reality that not everyone shared this belief. The person I had been seeing had taken their time to respond to my initial request to meet, and I had assumed it was due to caution or reservations. However, when we finally connected, it had been a genuinely pleasant experience. The chemistry between us had felt effortless, and for a brief moment, it seemed like we were headed in the same direction. Coincidentally, they were relocating to my town, and I couldn't help but see it as a stroke of fate. It felt like the universe was aligning our paths, and I had allowed myself to become hopeful. Our shared workplace only added to the sense of serendipity, and I had imagined the potential for a deep and meaningful connection. But as time went on, the relationship had grown increasingly complex. Their behavior had become a puzzle I couldn't solve. The fluctuations between affection and indifference left me feeling like I was constantly walking on eggshells. One moment, they would initiate contact, showering me with flattery and affection, making me feel special. However, the next, they would withdraw, responding less enthusiastically to my messages. The ambiguity of their actions and words had left me in a state of emotional turmoil. Their declarations of a possible future together, including mentions of marriage and growing old together, had raised my expectations to new heights. However, the revelation that they were in a talking stage with someone else had shattered my illusions. I couldn't deny the jealousy and insecurity that had crept into my heart upon hearing about their involvement with another person. It was as if I had been placed on the precipice of uncertainty, teetering between the hope of a genuine connection and the fear of being just an option in their life. The movie date we had shared, filled with affectionate gestures and flirty behavior, had further blurred the lines between friendship and romance. It felt like a date, but I couldn't be certain of their intentions. So, I had decided to express my feelings honestly, hoping that it would bring clarity to our situation. In that pivotal conversation, I had conveyed my desire to rekindle what we had shared, to explore the potential for a deeper connection. Yet, instead of a straightforward response, they had sought clarification about my intentions, leaving me hanging in a state of uncertainty. The days that followed were some of the longest and most challenging I had ever experienced. I had expected a response, whether it was an affirmation of their interest or an honest admission of their feelings. However, the silence that greeted me felt deafening, a stark reminder of the unanswered questions that plagued my mind. The advice of my friends resonated with me, urging me to protect my emotional well-being and move forward. They believed that I might be caught in a web of emotional manipulation, a game where my feelings were toyed with. Their counsel was practical, encouraging me to let go and find peace within myself. Yet, despite the logical reasoning behind their advice, my heart remained divided. The memory of the charming and affectionate person I had initially met still lingered, casting a warm light amidst the darkness of uncertainty. It was difficult to sever ties completely, especially when the prospect of seeing this person every day at work loomed as an additional challenge. I couldn't help but question the nature of relationships and the complexities of human emotions. Love, attraction, and connection were beautiful and bewildering, capable of bringing both joy and heartache. It was a reminder that the path to love was often filled with twists and turns, and the choices we made could have a profound impact on our lives. As I wrestled with my decision, I realized that I had to consider not only the present but also the future. The choice I made would determine the course of my journey, shaping the relationships and experiences that lay ahead. It was a moment of profound introspection, where I had to confront my own desires, fears, and hopes. The days continued to pass, and the unanswered message remained a heavy burden on my heart. I knew that I couldn't wait indefinitely for a response. At some point, I would have to make a decision, one that would define my path and determine whether I could find the clarity and closure I so desperately sought.